The day I met Chisom, I thought heaven had finally answered one of my quietest prayers. We were both fresh graduates from the University of Benin, tossed into the chaos of Lagos for NYSC orientation. The sun was unforgiving that afternoon, and she stood alone by the parade ground, confused, sweating, clutching her fire like someone searching for where to belong. I offered her a bottle of water. That simple act would change my life forever. From that moment, we clicked like we had known each other for years. We talked endlessly that day, about family, our course of study, hopes, heartbreaks, and what Lagos might hold for us. I told her how I dreamed of starting a beauty business someday. She laughed and said I'd probably end up on the cover of a magazine. I told her I was praying for a good, God-fearing man to marry. She said marriage wasn't her thing, but she'd be my wing woman any day. She was witty, bold, supportive, the kind of person that walked into your life and instantly made it brighter. After NYSC, we both struggled to find our footing, but we leaned on each other through every stumble. Lagos was a wild beast, but we fought it side by side. Eventually, we landed jobs. I worked as a customer care officer in a bank in Victoria Island, and she got into a marketing firm in Lekki. We rented a small mini flat in Yoruba, and that place became our whole world. We split bills, cooked together, danced to old songs on tired speakers, and prayed on nights when there was no light and no food. When I got dumped by a man I thought I'd marry, right there in that apartment, Chisom stayed up with me all night, holding me, feeding me chin-chin, wiping my tears, and telling me I deserved the kind of love that didn't come with pain. In that moment, I truly believed she was my sister, not by blood, but by destiny. 2 years passed and life started to look up. One Saturday afternoon at a wedding in Suralere, I met him, Remi. Tall, dark, warm smile, strong hands. He was the CEO of a growing IT consultancy in Lekki Phase 1, and from the moment we exchanged numbers, things moved fast. Not just love at first sight fast, but God answered my prayer fast. He was intentional, thoughtful, the kind of man who remembered the little things. He sent lunch to my office, called every morning, took me to fancy restaurants I never dreamed I'd afford. When he proposed after 8 months, I said yes with my whole chest. The first person I told, of course, was Chisom. She screamed so loud the neighbors knocked. She danced around the living room in her wrapper, hugging me like it was her ring too. That night, we drank malt and ate gala like it was champagne and caviar. But just for a moment, as she laughed, I noticed a flicker in her eyes, something unreadable. Jealousy maybe. But I waved it away. After all, Chisom always said she didn't want marriage. She only wanted to see me happy. She was there through all the planning, the market runs, the dress fittings, the bridal shower. Everyone called us friendship goals. Remi even joked that she was his second wife because of how involved she was. I laughed then, not knowing I was standing beside the very person who would one day tear my whole world apart. Chisom was everywhere, more than a maid of honor, almost like a shadow. She helped me pick the bouquet, corrected the tailor who nearly ruined my dress, and even created the bridal shower guest list herself. Looking back now, it was all too much. Too present. Too perfect. But love blinds you. Our wedding was everything I prayed for, a garden ceremony in Lekki, the sun golden, the music perfect. I walked down the aisle with tears in my eyes, not just because I was marrying the man of my dreams, but because I believed I had two people beside me who would always protect me, my husband, and my best friend. Chisom stood beside me in silver and lilac lace, holding my bouquet, adjusting my veil. At the reception, she gave a speech so moving that even the MC wiped his eyes. She called me her sister, said Remi was lucky to have me. But her eyes kept drifting toward him. And he toward her. Everyone else clapped. I just smiled, unaware I was clapping for a performance. One that had already begun behind my back. The first few months of marriage were beautiful. Remi and I moved into a serviced apartment in Ikoyi. Chisom visited often, still playing the loyal friend. She'd bring fruit baskets, help me unpack wedding gifts, stay the night when Remi traveled. At first, I welcomed it. She was my person. But then, I started noticing things. The way Remi's tone softened around her. How her laughter suddenly echoed louder when he made a joke. How they exchanged looks I couldn't decode. Still, I brushed it off. Remi was my husband. Chisom was my sister. And yet, the cracks began to form. Late nights at the office became frequent. His phone calls shortened. On some nights, he wouldn't come home at all, texting that he had to sleep over at the mainland due to traffic or early meetings. I confided in Chisom. She would sigh deeply, twist her lips like she was struggling with something. Maybe, she once said quietly, he's not getting what he thought he signed up for. I remember blinking at her. What do you mean? She shrugged. Men don't always say what they feel. But they show it. Maybe you should look at how he's changing. It felt like advice at the time, honest, hard truth. But I didn't see it for what it truly was, manipulation. The seeds of doubt were planted, and she watered them carefully. What I didn't know was that Remi was already telling her things too, complaints about me, excuses, half-lies, maybe even full-blown fantasies. The line between loyalty and lust had already blurred, and by then, they had crossed it. It wasn't until one Saturday afternoon, months into my marriage, that the truth slapped me across the face. I had gone to visit a childhood friend in Suralia and decided to come home early. As I pulled into the estate, I saw her car, Chisom's black Honda, parked neatly in front of my gate. I smiled. Maybe she was here to surprise me, I thought. Maybe she came to cook egusi or help me rearrange the sitting room like she always did. I unlocked the door quietly, hoping to sneak up on them. Maybe they were watching a movie, maybe Remi was baking his weird banana bread and she'd be there grinning. But what I saw in that living room destroyed every piece of me. Chisom, my friend, on my couch, sitting across Remi, his shirt halfway open, her heels on the floor. She was laughing, the soft, intimate laugh I knew too well, the one she gave only when she felt safe. Remi reached for her hand, pulled her closer. Their faces met. And they kissed. Not a peck. Not a mistake. A kiss that spoke of practice. Of comfort. Of familiarity. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My soul froze. My breath caught in my chest like it was refusing to carry the truth. She saw me first. Her eyes widened in horror. Remi turned. Silence crashed like thunder between us. Chisom stuttered something, maybe my name, maybe an excuse. I didn't stay to hear it. I ran. I didn't pack a thing. I didn't shout. I didn't collapse. I just walked, barefoot, out of the home I once called a sanctuary. To this day, I don't remember how I got to my mother's house. But when I arrived, I crumbled. Right there on her living room floor, I broke into pieces I thought no one could ever put back together. The next morning, Remi's calls came like an invasion. Missed calls. Voicemails. Messages begging for a chance to explain. Chisom too. She sent long texts, filled with guilt-coated excuses. Against my instincts, I agreed to meet them both, one final time. We sat at a small restaurant in Victoria Island. The air between us was thick with unspoken things. Remi leaned forward, eyes sunken. It wasn't supposed to happen, he said, voice low. It was a mistake, one time. Chisom interrupted him. I didn't mean to hurt you, Ifeoma. I didn't flinch. I just stared at them. You don't mistakenly sleep with your best friend's husband, I said coldly. This wasn't one moment. It was calculated. They said nothing. And that silence screamed louder than any excuse. I paid for my own drink and left. Days turned to weeks. I resigned from my job, I couldn't handle the whispers. Lagos is big, but secrets travel. A friend finally confirmed what my spirit had suspected. Their affair started months before my wedding. There were receipts, literally. Hotel bookings, text messages, pictures. While I was planning a future, they were sharing a bed. But the real stab came when Chisom moved into my former home barely 2 months later. The same flat we decorated. the curtains I picked, the wall clock I hung. She didn't even change anything. She simply stepped into my life, publicly. They posted pictures like it was normal. A housewarming with balloons. Dinner selfies. Hashtags like #NewBeginnings. I couldn't breathe. It wasn't just betrayal, it was humiliation. People whispered. Some blamed me, maybe Ifeoma was too cold. Others pitied me like I was some tragic soap opera character. Nobody really knew the pain. The violation. The shame of having your life stolen while the world watched. Then the nausea began. I thought it was stress, heartbreak, maybe depression. But one morning, my mother found me doubled over, throwing up into a bucket. She bought a test kit. I took it with shaky hands. 2 red lines. Pregnant. I sat in the bathroom for over an hour, staring at the strip like it would disappear. I whispered the same thing over and over. This can't be happening. I considered everything. I paced the room. I cried. I thought of disappearing. But my mother, strong, patient, rooted, took my face in her hands and said, "The child didn't betray you. Don't punish an innocent soul." It took weeks, but I chose to keep the baby. Quietly. Remi never found out. I blocked his number. Chisom's too. I deleted every photo, every memory. My silence became my shield. I got a new apartment. A small one. I started doing home service makeup again. Slowly, clients returned. Pain became fuel. I poured it into my business. Into myself. 9 months later, on a rainy Tuesday morning, I gave birth to Zion, my son. My miracle. My reason. The moment he was placed in my arms, something shifted in me. Not just joy, power. He didn't cry much. Just stared at me with his father's exact eyes. I didn't care. He was mine. I registered him with my last name. I raised him with love, structure, and prayers. Every time I looked at him, I remembered what I survived, and who I had become. The betrayal nearly destroyed me. But Zion rebuilt me. Raising a child alone in Lagos wasn't easy. But I made it look effortless. I woke up every morning before sunrise, fed Zion, packed his snacks, braided his tiny afro, kissed his forehead, and dropped him at creche. Then I'd head to my studio in Lekki, where the real hustle began. The beauty business I once only dreamed of had finally become my reality. I started with house calls, makeup for weddings, home facials, manicures in kitchens. Eventually, with small savings and help from my cousin in the UK, I opened a one-room studio in a shopping plaza. I named it Z by Ifeoma, for Zion, the child that gave me reason again. Business was slow at first, but word of mouth spread. A bride tagged me. Then an influencer. Then a wedding planner who gave me regular bookings. I worked late, sometimes slept in the back room on a foam mattress, but I never complained. Every kobo I earned went into my son's future. Zion grew fast, bright, curious, beautiful. He had Remi's face, but not his heart. He laughed with his whole body, asked questions like an old man, and had the gentlest way of hugging me when I was tired. "Mommy, you're the strongest," he'd whisper. I didn't tell him much about his father. Just enough. He didn't ask often. Maybe someday he would. But for now, he was mine. Entirely mine. Life moved on. Slowly. Honestly. I stayed out of drama. I changed my number. Blocked Chisom on everything. Deleted old photos. Refused to look at memories that once made me smile. I learned to sleep again. I learned to walk into spaces without shame. I learned to trust myself. Rumor had it that things didn't work out between Remi and Chisom. Some said she got pregnant and he denied the child. Others said he left her in the middle of the night without a word. I didn't care enough to confirm. Their destruction was never my revenge. My peace was. 4 years passed like a breeze. I went from a broken wife to a six-figure earner. From someone who begged for love to someone who created her own joy. Zion started school. My business expanded. I trained interns. I launched a skincare line. I even got invited to speak on Channels TV. Sometimes, at night, when Zion was asleep and the house was still, I'd sit by the window and think of everything I'd lost, and how God gave it back to me in a different form. Not through marriage, but through purpose. Through resilience. Through Zion. I didn't need closure. I didn't want apologies. I only wanted my son to grow up knowing that his mother didn't just survive, she rose. It had been over 4 years. Zion was now in nursery school. I was running 2 beauty studios, one in Lekki, one in Ikeja. Life had settled into something close to peace. Until that Saturday at the supermarket. I was picking groceries in Ebeono, Lekki. Zion was playing beside the trolley, humming to himself as he reached for cereal. I turned away for 1 second. The next time I looked up, my heart dropped. There, across the aisle, holding Zion's tiny hand, was Remi. Time froze. He looked older, worn, but his eyes, they hadn't changed. He stared at Zion like he'd just seen a ghost. Zion turned to him, smiling brightly. "Uncle, that's my mommy," he said, pointing at me. I couldn't move. My legs rooted to the tiled floor. Remi took one hesitant step forward. "Ifeoma." His voice was barely a whisper. Is he mine?" I bent slightly, calling Zion gently. "Come here, baby." Remi didn't take his eyes off me. When Zion ran into my arms, I held him tightly, my chest burning with memories I thought I buried. Then I answered. "Yes. He's your son." The words cut the air like a blade. Remi staggered back, his breath shaking. He tried to speak, but nothing came. Suddenly, another voice sliced through the moment. Well, isn't this cozy?" Chisom. She stood by the entrance, clutching a shopping basket. Her makeup couldn't hide the bitterness clinging to her like cheap perfume. Her eyes darted from me, to Remi, then to Zion. Her face turned pale. "That's his son," she whispered. "Oh my God, you had his child." Remi didn't deny it. His silence told the story. "You lied to me," Chisom snapped, stepping forward. "You still want her, don't you? After everything." Remi said nothing. The silence was answer enough. Chisom's face twisted with rage. "You've been hiding him," she hissed at me. "Waiting for the perfect moment to humiliate me." I laughed, low, cold. "Sweetheart, I didn't have to plan karma. It works all by itself." Her mouth fell open. Then Remi stepped closer. "Ifeoma, please. I made mistakes, but I want to be in my son's life." Zion was still in my arms, quiet, his little hands around my neck like he knew the storm behind us. I looked Remi dead in the eye. "You lost the right to want anything the day you betrayed me with my best friend." His face crumbled. Before he could say more, I stepped past him. Chisom was trembling now, her eyes glassy. I didn't stop. I strapped Zion into the car seat like it was just another Saturday, like the last 5 minutes hadn't cracked open the past. As I started the engine, Zion asked softly, "Mommy, who was that man?" I smiled. "Someone from a story that already ended. 4 years ago, they broke me. They thought I would beg, crawl, crumble. Instead, I rose. Today, I stand stronger, wiser. Not for revenge, but for peace. Remi may be his father by blood, but I am his ward by choice. And as for Chisom, some people dig their own graves. I just watched her climb in. If this story moved you, drop a comment and share your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to be reminded. You can survive the worst kind of betrayal and still rise higher.